This is essentially the second draft of this video, and I'll tell you straight up, it's gonna be real lazy. Not many visuals, not many edits, etc. Originally, this video was a really angry rant, but I decided that with the delicacy of the subject matter, that a more thought-out response was appropriate. Alright, let's get into it. I didn't think I was going to be making a video about Milo Yiannopoulos again so soon. Okay, so if you didn't know, Milo Yiannopoulos, right-wing provocateur at large, was supposed to speak at the Conservative Political Action Committee 2017. His invitation to speak was withdrawn earlier today after the organizers of the event were made aware of a video in which he seemed to basically say that he supported pedophilia. The video was from the Drunken Peasants broadcast from January 4th, 2016. Which means it's nothing new, but it was brought to the attention of CPAC by a Twitter account called the Reagan Battalion, which is to say that it wasn't someone on the left that did this, but someone on the right. Now, in this podcast itself, which went on for almost 3 hours, and of which this topic consisted of barely 10 minutes, the way that Milo talks about homosexual relationships between younger men and older men, it really does seem to be that he gives a couch defense of pederasty, which is where an older person takes up a relationship with an adolescent and basically supports them while also engaging in a sexual relationship with them. Milo himself has said that this is not what he meant, that he was talking mainly about himself when he was a 17-year-old and entered into a relationship with an older man. The other things that he said were sort of a stream of consciousness, talking about various things that, when added together, made it seem as though he supported pederasty, which, while different in practice, is legally indistinguishable from pedophilia. The fallout from this has been pretty significant. Not only was he uninvited from CPAC, but Simon & Schuster have actually cancelled his book deal. The most significant thing, which tells me anyway that, unlike all of the other controversial things that Milo has said or done, that this one is going to stick, is that so far, Breitbart has not published any kind of defense of Milo, either written by him or another staffer. Breitbart is always willing to circle the wagons around either Trump or the website staffers, so the fact that they have yet to publish any kind of defense is a telling sign. It means that at the very least, they are taking this seriously and are probably talking with their lawyers. The relevant clip is about 5 minutes long, and I'll play it at the end of this video, but let's go over some salient points. For one thing, Milo did not say that he had ever abused a child. He did not say specifically that he knew anyone that had. He was not even saying that the law about the age of consent should be changed. He was saying that, on occasion, it can be beneficial for an adolescent boy to enter into a relationship with an older man. Now, that is illegal, and I don't support it. But from what I understand from both reading and from the gay men that I have known, is that this is pretty common in the gay community. The Amazing Atheist even says so in the video. This is something that goes back to ancient Greece and Japan and much of the ancient world. Which brings me to my first point. Why exactly did Reagan Battalion, a group on the right, not even a large group, bring this video out into the open? This video does not show Milo doing anything wrong. It does not show him admitting to doing anything wrong. It has been out for over a year. Why was this brought up now and sieved by establishment conservatives? I think that there was a very good chance that it was motivated by an anti-gay bias. Milo Yiannopoulos is someone very different from the usual mold of conservative speaker. He is both openly Catholic and openly gay, a walking contradiction. A lot of the comments that I've seen on the right-wing websites have made it out to be a dangerous deviant. This does not help things. If we on the right are trying to re-litigate the gay issue, we will lose. We have already lost. Obergefell just revealed how badly we had lost. The silver lining of Obergefell was that it meant that any homosexual who was politically and economically on the right, but wanted what they believed was fairness for homosexuals, now has no reason to stay on the left. This is coming from somebody who considers himself a social conservative. But I'm telling you that if the Republican Party can show that it cares more about the economy and more about the Constitution than about an antipathy for homosexuals, then we can peel off a lot of support that the LGBT community currently gives the left. This incident will not help with that. Milo was talking about something that had happened to himself and something that has happened to a pretty fair number of gay men. Whatever you may think of it, it is reality, and it's not a reality that's going to change anytime soon. Milo was acknowledging reality. People virtue signaling about how much they care about the children is not a recognition of reality. Secondly, Milo was invited to speak at CPAC because he is someone who has not been afraid to go into the weeds of these cesspits of these left-leaning universities and speak things that the left doesn't want to hear. In the course of this, he has said and done things that were controversial and some considered hurtful and harmful. Yet these left-leaning universities still allowed him to speak. They did so reluctantly, and they did so while turning a blind eye to the students who tried to disrupt his talks, but they still had him on. University of California, Berkeley only stopped Milo from speaking after violent protesters set things on fire and maced people on the day of his talk. Yet CPAC disinvites Milo after out of one context video. It was more important for the American Conservative Union to virtue signal about pedophilia than it is to have someone who has been an avid warrior for free speech speak there. If it had turned out that Milo had a child sex ring running out of his basement, then yeah, I wouldn't support him. But are we really going to demonize somebody who has made a career out of saying controversial things for saying controversial things? And this isn't about the proper application of the First Amendment. Yes, CPAC can invite and disinvite whomever they want, but free speech is as much a mindset as it is a legal right. CPAC is supposed to be the biggest conservative powwow you can have, and yet one of the most important voices of the conservative movement of the past 2 years is not going to be there just because an old video of him surfaced. Remember, Trump's election was as much a rebuke of the GOP conservative establishment as it was of Obama and the progressives. This kind of thing seems to vindicate that they need to be further rebuked. Finally, this whole thing feels like a witch hunt, and it's frankly unbecoming of people to engage in it. Mundane Matt said that pedophile was going to be the new put-down of 2017. I thought he was wrong, but it turns out I was wrong. It's not like this is an opinion that Milo shares regularly. He's mentioned it twice that anybody can find. At all of his talks, he goes on about political correctness, Black Lives Matter, Islam, etc. In his journalistic career, he has held actual pedophiles to account. Are we really going to tar and feather somebody just because they have, in fairly casual settings, said something that some find unsavory? Do you really want it to be okay for people to deprive you of professional opportunities just because you once or twice said something genuinely shocking or controversial? Social justice warriors got their name because this is what they did. They would find something that a person who had crossed them had said, show it to the person's boss, and ask, why are you employing this person? In practice, that's how political correctness works. Although I think that we shouldn't be afraid to adopt some tactics in the culture war, the whole idea that holding unsavory views should disqualify people from professional opportunities is a very, very dangerous one, especially in our digital age. You may be okay when that standard is applied to a controversial figure like Milo Yiannopoulos, but what happens when it's applied to you? The left has been doing this for years. Are you really okay with the right doing it, especially to one of their own? Milo Yiannopoulos has been doing yeoman's work by going into the trenches and fighting the culture war. I think it's absolutely disgusting that CPAC and the Reagan Battalion and Glenn Beck and ACU and whomever else stabbed him in the back like this. I cannot believe that the right, which gets criticized and no platformed all the time because of specious accusations of racism, sexism, whatever, would do something like this to one of the people who was trying to fight this. If I really thought that Milo Yiannopoulos was a pedophile, or was covering for pedophiles, this would be a different story. But so far, all I've seen is that he has said some questionable things. Even if the most uncharitable view of what he said here is true, that doesn't have any bearing on his views about Black Lives Matter, Islam, free speech, First and Second Amendment, whatever. The left rarely hangs its own out to dry, yet we on the right do it all the time. We can't give into this internecine struggle if we actually want to build a movement. We have to cover for each other to some extent. And that ends this rant. Alright, let's play the clip so that you can see if it really was as bad as what they're saying.
I can do that. Audience, make that for Milo.
The whole consent thing for me is once it's not this black and white thing that people try and paint it. Are there some 13-year-olds out there capable of giving informed consent to have sex with an adult? Probably. But I was also a 13-year-old. I hung around with 13-year-old guys, you know, when I was 13, and there were some of them that still thought girls were fucking icky at 13. Like, not many, but like they were just coming out of that phase. I don't know that I was ready at 13 to get fucked in the ass by a 28-year-old black drag queen, is what I'm saying. So you can't. The reason these age of consent laws exist is because we have to set some kind of a barometer here. We've got to pick an age and go, okay, look, this is the age where we can reasonably be assured you're an adult, you can give informed consent, you understand the risks and pregnancy risks and all that bullshit.
And I think the law is probably about right. That's probably roughly the right age. I think it's probably about okay. But there are certainly people who are capable of giving consent at a younger age. I certainly consider myself to be one of them. People who are sexually active younger. I think it particularly happens in the gay world, by the way. And in many cases, actually, those relationships with older men. This is one of the. This is one of the reasons I hate the left. You know, this sort of stupid, one size fits all policing of culture. This sort of arbitrary
Milo.
This arbitrary.
Let him talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll
be quick. This arbitrary and oppressive idea of consent, which totally destroys, the understanding that many of us have of the complexities and subtleties and complicated nature of many relationships. You know, people are messy and complex, and actually, in the homosexual world particularly, some of those relationships between younger boys and older men, the sort of coming-of-age relationships, the relationships in which those older men help those young boys to discover who they are and give them security and safety and provide them with love and a reliable and sort of a rock where they can't speak to their parents. Some of those relationships are some of the most
molestation to me. It sounds
well,
like
you know what?
It sounds like Catholic priest molestation to me.
And you know what? I'm grateful for Father Michael. I wouldn't give nearly such good head if it wasn't for him.
Oh my God! I can't handle it.
It's funny because
what is wrong with you, Ben?
Ben gave me some homework on you, Milo. He gave me a few videos to watch to brush up on my Miloisms. And one of the things that you said in one of these clips was that transgenderism is the new, frontier of rights. My wording is bad here, but it's a new frontier of social progress. And the next thing in line is going to be pedophilia. And yet here you are talking about how, look, some of these kids that get diddled by these priests, I mean, it's a good thing for them. They're getting this love. And now they are also getting
You're misunderstanding what pedophilia means. Pedophilia is not a sexual attraction to somebody 13 years old who is sexually mature. Pedophilia is attraction to children who have not reached puberty. Pedophilia is attraction to people who don't have functioning sex organs yet, who have not gone through puberty, who are too young to be able to understand the way their bodies. That is not what we're talking about.
And Coulter.
Granted.
You don't understand what pedophilia is if you think that I'm defending it, because I'm certainly
not. I'm not saying you're defending it. I'm saying you're walking the borderline.
No, that's not what you said. You said I was defending it. And you were wrong.
Fine. I retract my statement, Milo. I retract my statement. I shan't slander you further, but you are advocating for cross-generational relationships here. Can we be honest about that?
Yeah, I don't mind admitting that, and I think particularly in the gay world and outside the Catholic Church, if that's where some of you want to go with this, I think in the gay world, some of the most important, enriching, and incredibly, life-affirming, important, shaping relationships, very often between younger boys and older men, can be hugely positive experiences for those young boys. They can even save those young boys from desolation, from
they're
suicide,
consensual. Hold on. All
sorts of things, provided they're consensual. I'm
going to jump to Milo's defense a little bit here, because I've read stories of, people losing their virginity, like gay men losing their virginity, and most of the stories do seem to involve, I was 14, I was 15,
sure,
he was 20-something, and all this stuff. And, it does seem more common in that community, so whatever.
I just don't see, just because I was sexually precocious doesn't mean that I'm going to say that every 13-year-old who has sex with a 28-year-old is fine. I don't know, because I don't know the specifics of that case. I'm not saying that every relationship involving those ages is fine. I have said many times that I consider myself an outlier.